Week two of the high school playoffs. Exciting sometimes. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts these days?
Well, we'll stick to the playoffs right now instead of what we were talking about.
Yeah,
This is kind
it's
of a
more fun
messed
talking
up.
about the other stuff though.
Yeah, we can talk about some of that other stuff anyway, but this is kind of a messed up week with the storm coming in and shifting things around. Um, I don't know. I think we could because it is a different kind of a situation playing on Thursday night. Some teams will play Friday night. I know West Charlotte's going to play Friday night. I think that's going to create potentially some situations that might lead to some surprises because it is a little bit different routine for kids.
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of good matchups this week, Jim. A lot of tremendous matchups in the playoffs.
I mean, the second round of the playoffs, and you got who's Mallard Creek playing again?
Yeah, I don't know that other team that's some kind of dog.
Yeah, it's in what part
Yep.
of is it? Some type of Mecklenburg County somewhere? I mean, it's just
Exactly. I mean, you got that. You got 11-0 Olympic playing a 9-2 Independence. You got Burns and Shelby going at it again. You got I think, some tremendous games out in the East. A lot of these games are what you would be looking for in about the third round.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Third or even fourth round, some of these matchups. I mean,
Well,
it's
yeah,
just
and I'm speaking third round of our traditional,
right.
5 round playoffs. But yeah, or
You,
maybe some of these matchups, yeah, are fourth round matchups.
yeah, some of them like regional, playoffs. The
Exactly.
last week though, Albemarle and Murphy played in the first round. In traditionally that would a lot of times those two teams matched up in the regional finals in the
Right.
West. It's an interesting year. It just really is an interesting year. So we're going to begin tonight.
Oh goodness. Let's see here. What about what you saw last week? And I'll say what I saw.
Okay. Well, I went down to into Durham. Went to see Southern Durham play a team over at Onslow County. Played called Richlands. It's a 3A matchup, and I was expecting a lot of defense. I wasn't expecting a lot of offense. And when it came to not expecting a lot of offense, Onslow County's teams usually play really good defense. Offensively, they usually capitalize on the other team's mistakes. But Richland didn't play much offense and didn't capitalize at all on Southern Durham's mistake.
Mm.
It ended up being a running clock at the very end. Southern Durham just dominated that game. It was all defense on Southern Durham. Their defense made points. And one of the best ways to have a team that scores points is to have a solid defense.
Sure. No question. Somebody Facebook user said, "Hey, hi guys." Don't know who that is, but hi, whoever you are.
Oh,
Um,
hello.
I went over to watch West Charlotte host Stuart Kramer, and this was a rematch from last year's first round game, and it kind of went the way I expected it to go. I knew that West Charlotte West Charlotte's got a good defense. First of all, they're just solid on defense, and on offense they've had some improvement. Your fans going out of town right now, isn't
Oh, yeah.
it? Like you're going up to the 10,000 feet now. And the offense has improved. Uh, Sam Griner's calling the offense right now. Maybe more than anything, they've got some strong play out of some of their athletes, and uh, just I think in the end, a kid gets 3 picks in the game. One of them's a pick six. Um, it was a good game to watch, but it ended the way that I thought it would, which was a domination by West Charlotte. To have a good defense, you really need to have a decent offense, or you're going to, your defense is always going to be in a bad position. And that was maybe West Charlotte's downfall earlier in the season, but now um, they've got at least a decent offense to go along with their really good defense. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to go to their game Friday night because most everybody, as we know, is playing Thursday night, and they're playing Friday night at West Mecklenburg. So I guess I would get to go see them play highlight. Last weekend, because Olympic set another school record of getting 11 wins in a season. That's the first for them. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings and I chugged one of the containers of Carolina Reaper hot sauce.
Oh, look at you! That's hardcore right there.
That was the week before I did the wing challenge and ate the 10 Carolina Reaper wings, and I figured this week I'd just take the hot sauce, and I had to do it with my finger.
You know what? That inner lining of your stomach is just overrated, man. Just don't even think about it. Just go ahead and chug. You know.
Oh goodness! It was a little bit of pain, but it wasn't bad in the mouth. It wasn't.
It's one of those things. Like 10 years later, you'll never remember it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do this week if they beat Independence.
That should be a pretty good game, though, shouldn't it?
Well, you think it should be a good game, and then you can look at history of Olympic, and programs have hurdles they have to get over.
Right.
Sometimes to go to the next step and the next step and the next step, and Olympic never had an undefeated regular season. They've done that now. Olympics never had more than 10 wins in a season. They've done that. Now, there's two ways to look at this week. Technically, it's a second round game, but effectively, compared to previous, playoffs, it's a first round game, right?
Right.
I mean, there's different ways to look at this. And so how many games do they need to win in the playoffs to maybe overcome another hurdle? Yeah, they went to the state championship in 1970, but I consider 1972, a switch to what I call modern era.
Right.
I think a lot of people do. And so in modern era, they've only had a few times that they've been to the second round and one time to the third. And every time they've kind of hit a hurdle or a power, let's say.
Right.
They've failed to get past it. They failed to get past West Charlotte in 93. And it's hard to relate a 93, a 2006 team, or a 2009, or a 2012. because none of these players were part of the team. But I don't know if there's that mentality. But Jim, to get for as far as that game is concerned, it would be a hurt. I do view the Independence game as a hurdle,
Right.
and the question is, or a bump. The question is it a speed bump that is increased in height to slow you down below the speed limit,
Right.
which would be that normal getting over the hump thing, or is it a speed bump that's wore down that you can go faster over?
Right.
What is it going to be for Olympic? And I think
Well,
it's really more a mental thing.
I think it is too. Back in 1969, this NFL team hired a new coach, and
Yep.
this team never really thought much. Never had that location. Never really had much luck. It was the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Uh-huh.
and they hired Chuck Noll. And someone says, "Well, how are you going to win in a city of losers?" And he said, "I don't think any town or any city is destined to be losers. It's just all about changing the mentality and getting
Yep.
back to the basics and the fundamentals and doing it repetitively until you break through those walls." And the first year Noel was there, they won their very first game. Then they lost 13 games. Back then they played 14 games in the regular season.
Yep.
Next year they went 5-9, then they went 6-8. Then by 72 they went to the playoffs. 73, 74, all the way through 79 they went through the playoffs. Got 4 Super Bowls. It's all about breaking through that. I mean, as soon as you hit adversity, is what you do with that adversity. Do you just fall down and quit, or do you just go ahead and fight like hell?
Exactly.
And I think Olympia is going to fight. I think they're going to fight and they're going to exercise some demons. But that's just my own belief.
Well, it's I believe stepping onto the field it's a mental thing,
Right.
and they can't step on the field defeated. That's
Right.
that's just the wrong way to be. I think about an Olympic team in 2006 that hosted a Parkwood team, and that Olympic team should have really handled Barry Shuford and his Parkwood team, and Barry told me that on the ride over, the players felt like he could tell the players felt like they were going into a lion's den, the way that the players were responding, and the way that the visitors team does their pregame and the home team, and where the visitor team used to park, the visitors team has to walk by the home team to get to that other side of the field. And Barry said that as they were doing that, the Olympic players started, jacking their jaws at the Parkwood players. And he said a group of kids that got off the bus defeated, by the time they got down to their area on the field to do their pre-games, they were fighting, ready to go.
Right.
The mentality of how you had Olympic kept their mouths shut, then Olympic probably would have won that game. Barry said he wouldn't have been surprised to have seen a 3-score, loss. So mentality can play a huge part in this game for Olympic. Be interesting to see.
I agree with you. I remember one year it was Weddington versus Northern Guilford for the 3AA state championship.
Uh-huh.
And at the time, Weddington was a good team, but they weren't anything close to what they are the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And Northern Guilford was clearly the better team. They had more weight, more speed, more strength, more talent, just about all the way down. And the only thing Northern Guilford had to do was just keep their mouth shut and do what they're supposed to. But no, they ran their mouth off. And they ran their mouth off so much that it almost cost them the game.
Right.
The thing about it is if you have to run your mouth, it means you're probably not that good in the first place. Or you lack the
Yeah.
confidence in your own abilities. Uh, just keep your mouth shut. I mean, that's the best
just
thing to do.
just keep your mouth shut. It was interesting, Jim, at the West Charlotte game, West Charlotte Stuart Kramer game, mentioning mouth, jawing. Uh, as can happen when teams you start getting separation and a team recognizes that their season's going to end when that clock gets down to zero, players can get frustrated. And some of the Stuart Kramer players were getting frustrated, and there started becoming responses from the West Charlotte players. There had to be a talk, and actually the officials had a talk with the West Charlotte players, and the coaching staff had a talk with them too. They kind of indicated to them, guys, you're going to be playing next week, but if somebody gets ejected from this game, you will not be taking part in the game next week. So the jacking of the jaws, as I call it, you got to control it in all parts of the game, the contest. I think players forget they can get thrown out of a game, and if their team advances, they're not going to be there to help their team. It was great to see the officials take control of that situation.
Right.
One of the West Charlotte people that I was not one of the coaches, but one of the photographers that was there was telling me, well, Stuart Kramer's starting it. And I kept telling him, I said, dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who starts it. If a West Charlotte player gets called for unsportsmanlike conduct twice, he's going to get removed from the game. It's potential that if he jacks his jaw and there's a reaction and there's a fist thrown or something or a shove, he's going to get ejected. So
right.
It doesn't matter who starts it. You gotta play with confidence, but not. You don't have to have that jaw jack.
All right.
So yeah, I'm not a fan of jaw jacking. My head coach in high school taught us to just keep our mouths shut. And then actually, when we worked out, when you're doing your pregame calisthenics, we had our back to the other team. He had us turn around. We're usually you face the other, the thing faced each other typically when they were doing the calisthenics and things. We had our back to them, not as a disrespectful thing, as a control your emotion, keep your mouth shut. Just do so. We would whisper almost 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4, doing jumping jacks or whatever. You couldn't hear the guy working, doing the calisthenics beside you. You couldn't hear. And that's what I was taught. You don't talk with your mouth. You talk with your pads, is what our coaches always
say. Right.
So,
that's the biggest thing. I always like what Gene Stallings used to tell with his Alabama team. After you score a touchdown, the best way to celebrate is to give the football to the referee.
Yeah.
Look at that as the best way. There's been more fights, more hostilities, more anything is by celebrations. And sometimes celebration itself is not bad. I like to celebrate things. But when you celebrate it in spite or when you show somebody up, your opponents up, bad things can happen. It might not happen to you, but it might happen to one of your teammates. And sometimes celebrations can be very selfish. And
there's
you just have to be careful about it.
Exactly. I like the way you put that because a celebration is a good thing, but you don't have to direct it as a negative thing to the opponent, first of all.
Right.
You know, you've accomplished something, celebrate it. Nobody's got a problem with that anywhere.
Right.
When you turn it into a taunt, that's a problem. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
I do have a lot more respect for the guy who just flips the ball to the referee
Right.
or hands it, but I like a little, just a little small flip to the referee, like it ain't no big deal. I've been here before, you know.
Right.
Um,
You remember John Riggins?
oh man, yes, I remember John Riggins, Washington Redskins. Yeah, sure.
And before he was with the Redskins, he was with the Jets. And,
Yeah.
he actually played under Lou Holtz, of all people, who
Yep. Yep.
beforehand was the NC State coach.
Oh, I
And
know Lou real well.
Riggins was somebody though that he received a lot of late hits. A lot of people would punch him. And the one thing about Riggins, you look at his history, he never responded to him. Now, when
Hmm.
he was off the field, he did some crazy stuff. I mean, he got blistered one time and was next to one of the Supreme Court justices and
Oh
told
yeah.
her, said, "Hey, Sandy, baby, why don't you listen up a little bit?" Talking to Sandra Day O'Connor, and he's a crazy guy, but
Yeah, he was.
he was a professional on the field,
He was a
and
rough guy, but he was a yeah. I would say he played as a professional.
he played as a professional, and he was just great. Randy White from the Dallas Cowboys, one of the
Yep.
most one of the most meek people you ever want to meet to off the field. On the field, he was a crazy man, and you did not show him up. If you did anything to celebrate him against the Cowboys, he'd take it personally, and I'll tell you right now, he'd take it off on the quarterback or your running back or receiver.
Yep. I remember those days. I'm sure some of our viewers here probably that was Carrie, by the way, who plays.
Yeah,
Um, and I sent her an invite link. She's more than welcome to join us.
yeah.
The
Carrie's good to have on the show. To be honest with you,
I think I think
I
so.
think she adds a lot to it, more than me and you can add. So
So Carrie, if you want to join, just click
yeah,
that link.
rescue us.
Come on in. Um, so Jim, I'm going to the Olympic Independence game. Have you? I know you talked about some things you were going to do. Now the weekend is different. Where are you going to be tomorrow night? Are you going
Well,
to be?
I was planning on Friday heading to Rocky Mounts and going to see Northern Nash versus Southern Nash. I wanted to
Oh,
see that game
yeah,
so bad,
yeah.
and the game got moved to Thursday, and I'm like, I cannot do it on a Thursday night.
Right.
Go to Rocky Mount.
It's a little more of a drive for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to get a motel room and spend the night, and Thursday night I got to go back to work and everything. So what I'm probably going to do on Thursday night, I'm going to go to the Hillside and watch them play Apex. Apex has lost one game this year, and Hillside is undefeated, so that should be a good game. And on
I if
Friday,
I, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and on Friday right now, I think Grimsley and Charlotte Catholic are playing. And I might go to Grimsley and see
Yeah,
that game
that
because
could.
I think that's going to be a good one.
I think if I had a chance, I would go to that game. If that's still Carrie posting, she says she's going to Burn Shelby. Um,
Ooh, gosh,
what a
that's a good
game!
game.
Yeah, so that'll be at Burns, um, up in Lawndale. Um, West Lincoln coach started teaching at Burns. That'll be a good game. I'm just going to make a comment about the game for you, Carrie. Some notes from the last time these two teams played. Uh, Burns got two times the offense. They had they held Lee to his lowest output at quarterback, and I think his QBR rating was like 78 for that game. Burns had 3 sacks. Defensively, they just throttled Shelby. They throttled Shelby in the run game. I think the total in offense was about 150 in passing and 67 in rushing for Shelby.
Wow.
So Burns did a lot of good things in that game, and Shelby's a good team, and it's hard to beat good teams twice. But there was a good bit of separation in that game. That I don't know if it's one of those it's hard to beat them twice kind of situation. It should be a fun game though. That's a huge rival.
Historically, you have 4 teams in Cleveland County, and historically, you have Shelby at number 1, Crest at number 2, Kings Mountain at number 3, Burns at number 4. Historically, that's been the 4 ways. So
Right.
this year, Kings Mountain's probably 1, and Burns is probably 2.
Right.
Crest is 3, and Shelby's down there. I mean, Shelby's lost all 3 of those teams. They're number 4 on that, and they're not used to be number 4. And you see people run their mouths off. Shelby fans are probably the worst at running their mouths off, and a lot of times they deserve to because they're that good.
Yeah.
But when you're 6-4, when you lose 4 games during the season, and you're basically moaning and pissing, moaning, whining, everything you want to think about because you're not in the top 10, give me a break. I mean, win a game that you're supposed to be good.
But the thing about their losses, they are good losses.
Yeah.
They're losses to teams that would beat most of the teams that are in that top 10. So it's the question here, though. I think there may be a little too much separation between Burns and Shelby this year. This may be Burns' year.
I agree. See, I think Burns is a contender. I think Shelby is a good team, but they're not a contender this year. If you look at their regular season, they won 6 games, and all 6 of those games, I want to say right now, probably 50% of all the 2A teams in the state would win those 6 games also. The 4 teams they lost to, I want to say probably 90% of all the 2A teams will lose to the same 4. But it's like
I'd say more than 90%.
Yeah, maybe 92. I mean, I don't know how good Crest is this year, to be honest with you. I think Crest is a decent team. I just, for the life of me, I don't know if they're that great.
Right.
The AC Reynolds, they're a good team, a good 4A team, But Shelby, it's like you got to do something. You got to have their best win so far as Forest Hills, and I really don't know how good Forest Hills is. I mean, I've had an honorable mention this year in the 2As, but
I think that's a good win.
Yeah,
personally, I think Forest Hill's a good squad. Let me tell you something interesting about Shelby. So today I drove back from Tennessee. I have a Facebook live thing that I did today. Did a bunch of them, but I stopped across the street from Shelby High School, catty corner to a high school at Burger King, and had an Impossible Whopper, which is made with
it's a vegan. Yeah,
vegan. Oh, it was good. It tasted just like a Whopper. Videos up on my Facebook page. So, Carrie, that's a great game. You want to see some great football. Cleveland County and those schools in Cleveland County are all rivals with each other because they're all good. The best football in the state's played over in Cleveland County, and no matter what happened in that first game, it's going to be it'll be a bloodbath in some ways, but I'm picking Burns in that game.
Yeah, I think Burns is going to beat them by more than they did the first time, to be honest with you.
They could.
I'll tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of woods in that fire. It's going to be one of those things where you throw a little accelerant on it. And Shelby fans, I'm going to tell you right now, you run your mouth off way too much. I've seen it too much on social media. it gets back. Your words are going to be used as locker room material, and that's not a good thing, you know.
Yeah, I'm real familiar with creating locker room material. I thought I'd bring up the playoffs bracket here, Jim, and
All right.
we can look at. I'm just going to bring it up from the Max Preps. Yeah, we need to put a shush on your fan.
Yeah, I tell you what, I wish I could get something on there. It's people don't realize that sometimes you have an old fan or old computer. It's like 3 years old, and all of a sudden they start making weird noises. It's like you have a certain amount of arthritis in your computer, and all of a sudden they're starting to act up
Right.
and letting everybody hear about it. And you know what? So I mean, every so often have to spray it down. You know, get the stuff in there, put the stuff in there, and
Tell your IT
shake it up
people.
good.
Tell your IT people they need to fix it. They probably
All
will,
right.
right?
Yeah, it
Okay.
looks good.
Does it look good? So let's start out on the east side.
All right. Tarboro. I'm gonna tell you right now they will advance to the third round. I'm gonna say
Yep.
running clock on that one.
Yeah,
Then
there's can't disagree with that.
now the next one's an interesting matchup. I'm gonna take Riverside Martin in there. North Edgecombe is basically Tarboro Lights. They have about 250 kids. This high school is right outside the city limits of Tarboro. Riverside Martin is about 20 miles east of Tarboro. I'll take Riverside Martin. I think it's going to be a matchup in the third round.
Okay,
And
I agree. I don't disagree with that.
so we're going to go down. Let's say West Columbus, Washington County. That's an interesting matchup. Washington County, that consists of the old Crestwell High School and also the Plymouth High School. That school is not the same as it was 5 years ago. They did not have a football program in 2020 or 2021. When Washington County beat Gates County, it was a slight upset. I thought Gates County would win by a score, and Washington County won by 20. West Columbus is a good team. That game will be over at Cerro Gordo in Columbus County. Um, I'm going to take West Columbus, but would not be surprised if Washington County wins that game. It could go either way.
Okay. Yeah, I would pick West Columbus and go score 1.5 scores maybe.
Now, the next game here, Northampton County, Northside Pinetown. I have Northampton County in the top 10. This right here has upset written all over it. Northside Pinetown is a very good team. They're playing better as the season progresses. Uh, I'll take Northampton County, but I'd circle this one right here. This does have an upset feel. I would not be surprised if Pinetown wins that game.
Well, this is one of those situations, then, Jim. You know, we're playing on a Thursday. I don't. Maybe our listeners or our viewers all understand this, but there are routines that go. You know, the players go throughout a week, and this is a slight disruption in those routines. Now, it's not too bad because it's still being played on a school day. But a Thursday night is a bit different than a Friday. Now, the flip side of that is that Fridays are holidays. So that might have been a worse day to play on because of those breaks in routines. Because that really breaks up your routine when you're not at school on game day. And so I don't know if there's enough disruption in the flow of the week for the players that could help with that kind of an upset. But if a game is close, those are the kind of things that could impact the favored team. All right, so I've moved on.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna change I'm gonna see if I can get rid of this noise here. I'm gonna go to my headset.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll help out a little bit. Let's see if it works or not. Can you hear me, Dale?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Is the
You're
noise gone away at all?
might be slightly lower.
Okay.
Yeah. I
I'm gonna
mean,
use.
I shouldn't say it is lower. It's
You can
still
still
there,
hear.
but it's better. It's a lot better.
Gotcha. So let's see, going down here, we're looking at Rosewood and Warren County. I got Rosewood in that game. I'll be honest with you, I don't think Warren County's going to give them much trouble.
Yeah.
Now the bottom one here, Hopton and Southside. Hopton's a very well coached team. Southside has another well coached team. I'm gonna go with Hopton in this game. To be honest with you, I think that one.
Hmm.
It's. I think Hopton might just have a little bit more for Southside than they bargained for.
Interesting. So I picked Southside, but okay, that'll be an interesting game.
So we got another game right below there. Looks like it's East Columbus versus Perquimans,
Yep.
and I'm, I'm surprised that Perquimans won that first round. East Columbus, uh, they're a good team. I'm gonna take Perquimans on that one. I think Perquimans just a little bit more stout than East Columbus.
Okay. I don't here. I don't know. So I would flip a coin.
Right.
uh, so I'm with you on that. I know who I'd pick in this game, but go ahead.
Oh, the next one, Northmore. I think they'll win by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question there.
Pinder's a good team though. I mean, they gave Tarboro fits last year
Sure,
in the
but I
regional
think
big show.
Northmore's a team that can get that has the potential to get there to the regional. And in fact, the way I look at this third, I see them in the fourth round easily.
Oh, I do
Um,
too.
right, so
Yeah,
that's
I think they got a
sorry.
pretty good. I think actually probably a decent shot of getting into the regional championship.
I think so too.
The East is
Right
just
now,
not that strong though.
say again.
I don't think the East is that strong. There's just not that many.
Right.
I mean, Tarboro and
Well,
Northmore are the best teams.
yeah, I see those two teams playing in the regional.
Right.
So their actual seeds are going to work out. I think 1 and 2 is going to play each other.
Right.
All right, so let's get over here on the west side.
Okay, the first game is interesting here. Eastern Randolph is banged up. They do not have a lot of depth, but what players they have are really good. This is a team at the beginning of the season, they had like 25, 26 players suit up. They're down to maybe 21 or 22. They're still pretty darn good. Eastern Randolph should win this game, but do not be surprised if Mountain Heritage wins this game. I got Eastern Randolph against Mount Heritage, probably by 17 points.
Right.
Now, the next one, Robbinsville Cherokee, another team. Robbinsville is also banged up quite a bit, so like a lot of 1A teams. Cherokee, they surprised a lot of people. They surprised me by beating Starmount. I've got Robbinsville to win this one. I think they'll win by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, I would pick Robbinsville here as well.
Now, this next one here, Christ the King versus Hayesville. That would be if I was in that area, I probably would want to go to that game. If you like some really good 1A football, Hayesville is a team that's kind of smash mouth. I think Christ the King is more fundamentals than anything else. I'm gonna take Christ the King in that game, but it could go either way. It sounds like my laptop's ready to explode.
Yeah, it just all of a sudden made a
Crazy noise here.
big change in things.
So hopefully that'll go away in a second here. The next one, North Rowan versus Mount Airy. I got Mount Airy in that game. I think Mount Airy might right now from top to bottom might be the best team in the West.
Yeah, I think Mount Airy is a team that at least get fourth round.
I think they'll end up
Compete
probably playing
against
the winner
Eastern
East
Randolph and
or Robbinsville, either one of those teams.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's
Right.
go down here. Thomasville, Swain County. I'm gonna take Thomasville in that one. I think they just got too much for Swain. And this Drawn Mitchell. This is a replay of earlier on this season when Drawn beat Mitchell by about 4 or 5 touchdowns. It's gonna
Yep.
be a closer one, but I got Drawn to win that game.
I'm with you on both of those. I like Thomasville. I'm a little bit of a Thomasville fan, so
I mean, historically, it's hard to go against Thomasville. They're just
yeah.
they just got such a great tradition. Both in 1A, 2A, and actually in 3A too. Murphy, East Wilkes. East Wilkes was pretty good until the very end of the season. I'm not very high on East Wilkes right now. I'm going with Murphy by a couple scores.
Right.
And then the last one here, Andrews versus Mountain Island Charter. Andrews just got so many weapons.
It's hard to pick. Yeah, it's hard to pick against Andrews, and quite honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Tarboro and Andrews play in the state championship.
I agree. I totally agree. I think Andrews and Mount Airy might be the best two teams in the West. The West.
Yeah,
right now,
I can agree with that, and I think they'll. I mean, there's a good shot they will be the regional playoff. All right. Go look at 2A. Let me back up and go grab 2A. Boy, this is a brutal. There's some good competition here and games.
Let's see here. So that first one, Princeton versus Trask. Princeton all the way on that one. I don't think it's going to be that close. Cummings, Midway. I got Cummings on that. They got a really good. They got some studs on offense. I think I don't know. Midway has enough defense to give them points. We keep it close. I'll say Cummings by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm exactly with you on both of these so far.
Now this one right here, Northeastern versus Wake Forest Rolls, or not Wake Forest Rolls,
Wallace Rose Hill.
Yeah, that one is one of those games that you expect in a regional final. Yeah. And I mean, two really good teams. Both of them been to the state championship. They're playing the second rounds, and I mean, being that this is a 6-round playoffs, historically this would be like a first round matchup, which is just incredible for 2A.
Right.
It's going to be Elizabeth City. I know Wallace Rose Hill is a good team, but they have stumbled at the very end. I'm going to go with Northeastern on this. I think Northeastern's offense is really is on all 8 cylinders right now. So
that's a hard game for me to pick because so much of me wants to pick Wallace Rose Hill, but
yeah, same here.
They got to travel, and
Thursday nights probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I struggle with that one. If that one were in a pick 'em, I would be struggling with which one to pick between those.
Right. And here's another good one: Green Central, Nash Central. I'm gonna go with Nash Central. I think they have more athletes.
Yep.
Green Central, very fundamentally sound team, though. If Green Central can force a couple turnovers, they'll be in the driver's seat though. I'm gonna go with Nash Central.
Sure, I would pick Nash Central here.
Now here's an interesting thing. Whiteville Holmes has just been good enough to, get a first round home playoff game. Whiteville, they're good, but I don't know if they're that great. I mean they haven't been. I don't know. Just haven't really impressed me quite a lot this year. I'm gonna go with Whiteville, but this game could really go either way. In a lot of ways, I just want to pull for pick Holmes. Because I think historically they might be the team to pick, but I'll go with Whiteville.
Right. Your assessment's, I think, fairly spot on for me. I
Now,
like this next game.
oh gosh, this right here is an athlete's dream here. Both teams are got a lot of athletes on here. Hereford County knows how to get the ball in the air. They know how to get it to the wide receivers. They know how to exploit a good defense. West Craven, though, another great team that can just move the ball down the field. That can, as Hank Strand would say, matriculate the ball downfield.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Hereford County on this one. I think again this game could go either way, but I'm gonna go with Hereford County. I was really high on them at the beginning of the season. They kind of faltered during the midway, but I'm gonna go with Hereford.
I was high on them in the beginning of the season too. I can see them winning. I think in a pick 'em, I'm picking West Craven, but I'm thinking that's really a one-score game, and Hereford winning's not going to be I'm not going to be wow that happened.
Right.
You've seen South Granville in person, so
yeah, they're good. Regular season they were 5-5, but I mean, look at some of their teams they played on non-conference. I mean, they had to play Heritage. They had to play. That's a 4A team. They had to play. I can't remember. They had to play Leesville Road. I know they played Orange High School, which they beat a 3A Orange High School. They had to play Hillside, and then in conference they played Southern Durham, and Southern Durham is a very good 3A team. South Granville is a very good 2A team. I think they're underrated, and I will take them over Clinton.
Okay. I like that assessment. I struggle there.
Yeah, this great second round matchups here. I mean, there's a good chance I'm gonna get all but maybe two of them wrong. I think most of them are gonna be wrong, but and this next one's another one. East Duplin to me is in the minds and the hearts. They're probably the sure pick. Is the right pick, the correct pick. James Keenan though could beat East Duplin,
right?
But I'm gonna take East Duplin in this game.
Well, I was just checking to see if Garrett was around, just in case. I don't know what just happened, but he's not. For those wondering, Garrett he's a James Keenan guy, so. All right, let's pop over here to the West, which I think is just absolute slobber knocker of game.
Oh gosh, yeah. That first game, though, Reeves will win easily against Providence Grove.
Sure.
That second game, Chase Robinson, J.M. Robinson. I had somebody was giving me a hard time about J.M. Robinson. Why do you have them picked in there? They only beat Wilkes Central by 10 or 12 points. And the thing about it is, Wilkes Central is up 6-0 at half. I mean, anybody that can actually do some analysis and look into it, they can realize that J.M. Robinson, they outscored Wilkes County 22-6 in the second half. Football is not a one-half game. You don't play 24 minutes and you're done within the high school. You play 48 minutes in regulation. J.M. Robinson is a very good team. Chase, though, I think has too much for J.M. Robinson. They have a stud for running back. I think Chase is going to win by probably 10 or 12 points.
So, Jim, because you brought it up, I want to bring up where that point that you just made about first half and second half, and there was a tremendous improvement in scoring in the second half. And what that points to typically is that the team that came out and performed better in the second half, they saw what they needed to correct. They made their adjustments at halftime, told everyone what they needed to do, and they came out and they did it. And so you can't judge a game on one quarter. You can't judge a game on one half or three quarters. You have to judge the game on the whole, without question. So you make good coaches make adjustments as you go through a game. There are play-to-play, or at least series-to-series adjustments. So there are series-to-series adjustments made. And then, of course, quarter-to-quarter and half-to-half. So,
I mean, that's exactly right. I had another person tell me that, like, Polk County was ahead of Chase in the first half. Well, who cares? I mean, who really cares who won the first half? We don't keep up the stats about who wins the half.
right. I mean, you get a small attaboy, but you don't get a trophy. You don't get a W, which is what you're out there for. You get a little attaboy that, okay, yeah, you did, but what happened? What happened in the second half?
That's in the second half. I mean, it was like Chase just tore it up. I mean, they won 34-6 in the second half.
Right. So you gotta ask. That's what you gotta ask. So what happened in the second half? Because one team got considerably better, and I like to see teams that do that, because that shows coaches are making adjustments. And what it shows on the other side is that those coaches aren't making adjustments typically, or they didn't make the right adjustment. So
it's not how you drive, it's how you arrive. And that's the thing about it.
It's how you arrive. It's not how same thing as it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Because you know what? The W doesn't come until the fourth quarter's final second.
Right.
Then you get a W.
Exactly right. I mean, it's an amateur position for people to say, well, this was a close game. So what? I mean, games should be close. That's one reason why I play. Now the next one, Maiden, Mount Pleasant.
Yep.
I'm gonna take Maiden in that game. I think Mount Pleasant is a decent team. I just don't think they have enough power against Maiden.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
And then Bunker Hill Community School, I'm gonna take Bunker Hill in that. I think I'm looking for a third round matchup again for rematch between Maiden and Bunker Hill.
I don't know. There's some good things to be said about community schools.
Yeah,
I see why. I understand why you pick Bunker Hill, but I will not. Don't be surprised if
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
If they come out with a win. Now let's get down to this.
I'll be honest with you, I'd be more surprised if Shelby beats Burns than if I would be Community School Davidson beating Bunker Hill.
Okay, yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think, I believe I do agree with that without question.
And I think Burns is I think they got pretty easy round to the third round. Salisbury, I think they'll beat Pine Lake Prep, although I do think Pine Lake Prep is going to be a challenge for Salisbury. But I think Salisbury's got too much.
I think Pine Lake Prep will have to have a lot of things go well for them. No turnovers, or they need to win the turnover battle. All those cliche things, they're going to have fewer mistakes, I think, to be Salisbury, is a very good squad. So that's not to take anything from Pine Lake. They're having a very good year. So, but I think Salisbury probably has the edge here.
And then the next game, Monroe versus Lincolnton, I think it's going to be probably 4 to 6 touchdowns. I think it's by Monroe. I just think Monroe's just got too much for them.
I think Monroe is better than what a 7 tries to indicate there.
Right. Yeah.
Monroe's a team that could forge its way into the 4th round, maybe even into the regional final at the 5th. I mean, they definitely. I think the road is kind of laid for them. I don't want to say laid for them. They win this game. They'll have a tough game, I think. Let's go ahead and go down to that next game.
Yeah, next game is Surrey. They'll beat Hendersonville.
Right.
I think fairly easily, to be honest with you.
And Monroe would have to get through East Surrey.
And I'll tell you what, now that's going to be a good game. I might actually go to Pilot Mountain watch that game.
Right.
I
So
might.
that'll be a very, very good ball game. I agree. That's going to
That's
be a great third round matchup.
that would be a. I would say that's about an hour and a half from my house. I might find a place over Powell Mountain and watch that game and
Right.
stay the night there. So yeah, that's
Okay.
it's going to be fun though. Two ways, very competitive.
Yeah. I think early on I was picking it to be a maybe even now I don't know. Oh, there it went. I hope you didn't go away. Let me see.
Now I was putting I was trying to spray some stuff in my vent and it didn't do anything.
Okay.
I have a feeling it's probably just something that needs to be cleaned out. But I tried to knock it out every so often. It does fine. So you want to go to are we on 3
Yep.
days now?
Gonna go to 3. Okay. Well, there's another slobber knocker of games, especially over here in the West. But let's start on the East.
Oh gosh, I wanted so bad to go to this Northern Nash Southern Nash
That
game.
would be a great game, I think.
Something tells me Southern Nash is going to win that game. I'm not going to pick them. I'm going to pick Northern Nash. But something tells me Southern Nash is really going to be up for that game. It's going to be up for Bear. Uh,
Okay.
that game, but the thing is, it's going to be played on Thursday, so I don't know if it's going to come on fruition. But that's a
Right.
heck of a game. Now, this next one, Southern Durham versus Vance County. I saw Southern Durham. I've seen Vance County. Southern Durham they'll easily beat Vance County. They'll go to the third round.
Yeah, I think so too.
Now, here's an ugly game: Triton versus Hunt. I'm not that sold on either one of those teams.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, they beat the Smithfield Selma. Hunt beat Smithfield Selma. They were one time they were 8-0. CB Acock or Charles B. Acock, they were 9-0 one time. Both those teams went down to Triton and Hunt.
Yeah.
It kind of shows you a lot of times some conferences are smoke and mirrors. They just don't have a lot of talent on there. I'm going to take Hunt on that. I think Hunt's got a little bit more defense than Triton does.
Yeah, I was picking Hunt. I just the thing in the first round with these two squads was beating Acock like they did. Um, that surprised me. Really, it surprised me that I was a little, I wouldn't say like shocked, surprised, but I was surprised. But then when I saw the amount of points that they put up, that was a little shocking. But I would think Hunt in this game, not pulling for. I think Hunt as well.
Now, this next game, Jacksonville Havelock. Jacksonville, I know a lot of people are really big on them in the beginning of the season, and they lost their share of games, and they did beat Rocky Mountain. That's a good win. Havelock, I had them ranked number one at one time this season
Right,
for
right.
3 or 4 weeks, and then they lost to Southern Durham. I didn't realize how good Southern Durham was. Now Havelock, I can understand why they lost to Southern Durham. I'm going to take Havelock in this game against Jacksonville. I think it's going to be probably a 1 or 2 score game.
I agree. I think Havelock's gonna get another shot at Southern Durham. To be
Yeah,
honest with
yeah, I think so too.
you, they are most likely gonna get another shot at them. I don't know what's gonna happen here. That'll be interesting. But yeah. Now let's get over to these brutal games here. These are brutal. There are a lot of brutal games here. I think.
So are there any more teams down in the East on the bottom
No,
five?
didn't we? I thought we got them all, didn't
Oh, we got
we? No,
71st
no, we
first.
didn't. I'm sorry. No, yeah, because yeah, you can't forget about 71st, Dale.
I'm gonna take 71st on that one. I think I know Rose has got a lot of offense, but I think 71st has plenty of offense, and they also have what's called defense.
They're one of the better teams, if not the best team down here in this bracket. There's another team down we're going to get to that they'd have to get through.
Yep. This next game, North Brunswick, Lee County. Uh, Lee County is a name. North Brunswick has a very good squad this year. I'm going to go with North Brunswick on that. I mean, in a lot of ways, it feels like an upset, but I mean, North Brunswick is the higher seed. The game will be over in Leland, down in
Right.
Brunswick County. I'm going to go with North Brunswick, but I think it's going to be a very close game.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. This is interesting here.
Terry Sanford, Scotland. I'm going to go with Terry Sanford on this one. I know Scotland is a big name also, but I think Scotland's a little bit down this year. I think the Fayetteville teams are a little bit underrated. I'm going to go with Terry Sanford. I think I like the chip on the shoulder over
there. Yeah. A name does a lot for you. There is a lot of tradition that can do things for squads that understand tradition, and Scotland would be one of those squads that understands it. But I kind of agree that I think maybe Sanford is a better. I think overall their football is better. Hard to believe, when we're talking about, and we haven't come across. You sound like you're about to beat out Orville Wright on the flying.
Yeah, I'm over here going. Yeah, I got all this exhaust fumes coming in my face here. Now, this next game, Williams Eastern Alamance. I saw the very first game between these two teams in the regular season. Williams lost to Eastern Alamance in overtime, went to double overtime. Williams had a chance to win that game in the first overtime, did not. Eastern Alamance had a way to put the game away in regulation. They did not. I think Eastern Alamance has a little bit more athleticism, a little bit more team speed. Williams has more size, more power. I think Eastern Alamance has better coaching. I'm going to take Eastern Alamance in this one. It's a close one.
Yeah, this is a game that I would think is going to go that could go one or two ways. Williams to win, I think, would be a close win. But I could also not be shocked if Eastern Alamance won by several scores. Sometimes when the two teams play again, the team that won the first time can get some more separation in that next matchup. I don't know that that's going to happen here, but I pick at Eastern Alamance myself.
All right. So we'll go to the west. Kings Mountain will be all over Smoky Mountain. The Battle of the Mountains. Sorry, King will beat Smoky.
Kings Mountain might be a smaller mountain, but the Kings Mountain team is not. That's one solid team.
Yeah, I mean Kings Mountain.
I'm really liking them. Yeah.
Kings Mountain would be easily in the top 5 or 6 in 4A. So.
Yep.
Next one, West Charlotte, High Brighton. I'm gonna go West Charlotte. I think they just have more talent than High Brighton. High Brighton's a little bit down this year. West Charlotte, I think they're more battle tested. I think they're battle tested. When you have to play Ballard Creek Huff or Julius Chambers every year, I think you have a little bit more in the playoffs during November, December. So West Charlotte.
Sure. So they definitely will carry that, thought in their head into every game that they play now, that they played in that brutal conference, and now this is. You just got to be careful you don't treat it as a breeze, because coming up is going to be a tough one. But one of the things that really becomes an in favor for West Charlotte in this game is that they're not. So West Charlotte, if you're not aware, they were still unable to play for the second season in a row at West Charlotte. The last year they were building the stadium, the new field, and they don't have they didn't have parking ready. so they weren't able to play there this year. So they've been playing their games at Waddell. And because Waddell is a grass field, and some things that High Brighton wanted to play the game Friday because they've got a soccer team that's playing Thursday night and a very good soccer team. So I guess West Charlotte worked it out. West Charlotte's hosting. They could have said you got to come down here on Thursday, but they worked it out where they're going to play on Friday. But what's going to happen? This game's being moved to West Mecklenburg, and West Mecklenburg is a turf field. So the advantage there is one of having a turf field and all that speed that West Charlotte's got. So there's some other advantages that you can call hidden advantages that maybe gives West Charlotte an even more of an edge. So I will be at that game. By the way,
It's gonna be a heck of a game there.
all right.
All right, so
I
let's see what we got here. Northwest
Northwest,
Cabarrus Ledford. I got Ledford in that game. I think
I
it's.
do
I think Ledford just rolled.
all over them. I
And
think so too.
East Lincoln Tuscola. I got to go with East Lincoln with that one.
Yeah.
I think several touchdowns on that one.
I agree. I agree.
Neither game really excites me that much.
East Lincoln's going to work their way up, probably at least up to here, to Kings Mountain. Of course, Sam, if he were listening, would say, "Well, Kings Mountain's going to have to get through me." But let's scroll down here to this game here, Crest and Oak Grove.
Okay, yeah, Crest Oak Grove. That's going to be a good game here. We're going to find out how good Oak Grove is. Oak Grove is the dominant team in Davidson County, really probably the dominant 3A team in what I consider the greater Triad area. Crest is a name. I'm going to give this game to Oak Grove. They are undefeated, but if Crest is really as good as their fans say they're going to be, they'll win this game. I just don't see it. I think I'll go with Oak Grove.
Yeah, I'm going with Crest, but I will say for anybody watching, don't be fooled by that 17-12 win over West Mecklenburg. West Mecklenburg also played in that same tough conference that West Charlotte played in. West Mecklenburg's by most football standards is a good football team. They just played in a brutal conference, and I mean you got Huff, Mallard Creek, and Chambers, and then you got West Charlotte there, and then you got come on, Dale, North Mecklenburg, and
Hopewell and all those.
then Hopewell. But to beat, just because that game was real close, don't discount, what West Mecklenburg that 30 seed means nothing. I actually thought that West Mecklenburg had a good chance at winning that game, and they lost by 5. So that's a good. That doesn't mean that Oak Grove is a weak team and Crest will just roll all over them.
Gotcha. Now, Dudley South Point. This right here is a interesting game to say the least. This game will be over in Greensboro. Another very good game to watch. This right here is a flip one for me. Dudley has really good defense. South Point has really good offense. I think South Point might have just a little bit more than Dudley does. But how will they travel on a Thursday night? I don't know. My gut tells me Dudley, but I think South Point's got a better team. I really don't know which way to go on this one.
I hear you. Give me just 1 second. Let me see if I can find my notes. I want to throw a few things out here, Jim, for you. I've got some notes on this game. So if you guys can bear with me just 1 second. For some reason, they didn't sync over on my other PC. So I pull out my um, the PC that Microsoft gave me. Okay. It's booting up. So this game, Jim, first of all, while I'm getting my notes here, um, one of the things that I think you have to consider is that South Point. And so here's some information for you. But here's the big thing about Dudley. Dudley has over 5,000 yards in total offense. And that offense is split between running and passing. So they're a very balanced squad. They have a little more in the. Let me make sure I got my numbers right here. They got a little more in the rushing area, but their quarterback, he has a QBR of 147.2, throwing for 2,176 yards and 28 touchdowns. So that tells you right there you've got a great quarterback, Andrew Atmore. Running back, a good running back. He's got 863 yards. So you're looking at a squad here that had over 5,000 yards. And that's approximately 50% more yardage than South Point was able to put together. So 5,045 versus 3,295. But that ain't the story about South Point. The story about South Point is also defense. So something that I found interesting because Kings Mountain has a solid defense and considered one of the best defenses in the state. South Point has more tackles for loss than Kings Mountain does. Consider it was a decent number more, in fact. And in fact, in that game, when I saw South Point and Kings Mountain play, I saw a lot of that. Now, what happened is Kings Mountain has a very good offense to go along with that defense, and they were able to break some plays. So, Jim, I think in this game, there's a freshman. South Point has a freshman quarterback. Now, this freshman quarterback, he only throws for a little over 1,000 yards. Patrick Lee is his name. But he's rushed for over 1,000 yards. So you're talking about a freshman now. Remember this kid's name. He's a freshman, and he is a leading contributor offensively. Now I noted in that Kings Mountain game, his brother is a big boy, 6'5". He's a senior, plays tight end. And I kept wondering why weren't they throwing to him? And as Kings Mountain got a little bit of separation, South Point had to throw. And sure enough, I was telling a photographer there. I said, I don't know why they're not throwing to him. And they come out, and 2 plays after I told that to him, he threw a touchdown strike to him. I think in this game, there's a couple things. Catholic is a strong, brutal, punch you in the mouth team. They're not. I'm sorry, I said Catholic. I mean South Point. I'm sorry. I got to get Catholic in my mind. They're a punch you in the mouth team. They play defense very well. Their kicking game is very good. Not great. The punter's 37.8 yards a punt, but as I saw it in that Kings Mountain game, Their kicker puts it in the end zone. They punt. The punter was really consistent, at least in getting punts off and getting, good positive yardage out of his punts. So that could play a huge part in this game. I think it's going to be a good game if you decide to go to it. That would be a good game. All right.
All right. So let's Irwin Eastern Guilford. It's hard to say. I don't think Eastern Guilford's. I think Eastern Guilford might have a better team than Irwin. They have to go up to Asheville to play that game. I'm gonna go with Irwin. Sorry, but I think that home advantage that Irwin has is going to be too much for Eastern. But I don't think either one of those teams are that great. The next one, Westerland versus West Henderson. I'll take West.
Yeah, so I think you might could see a little surprise out of Eastern Guilford. I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna call an upset, but I'm gonna call that as a game to watch.
Yeah, I think it is. It's to me. I'll be honest with you. I think whoever wins that Dudley South Point game, they pretty much have a chance to go all the way to the regional final.
Right. No. When I say a game to watch, I mean watch the. That
it's going to be a close game. I got what you're saying on that.
That game, Eastern Guilford can make that game close, and I wouldn't fall out of the chair if they won.
Right.
And I'm just thinking speed and a few of those other elements that happens when teams go up into the match. Okay.
Let's see. Let's see here. Let's go down to
West Rowan and West Henderson.
Yeah, West Rowan. I don't know. They'll have enough power to beat West Henderson. West Henderson, they can really move the ball down the field. They got good defense. I'm gonna take West Henderson that one.
Yeah, my pick is West Henderson, but I don't know. We'll see if West Rowan can get it done.
All right, so let's go to 4A before my computer blows up.
Or lands you on the moon.
Yeah, exactly. I never had it go this loud until tonight. All of a sudden, it just went off like crazy. Now that first
How about
game,
this first game? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that Hillside Apex game. I'm gonna go to that game tomorrow.
Okay.
I think Hillside's gonna win that game. Apex was undefeated one time. They were 9-0, and then I think they lost to Holly Springs. But I'm gonna take Hillside that game.
I like Hillside.
That next game, Holly Springs versus Pine Forest, could go either way. I think, to be honest with you, I think Holly Springs might have just a little bit more Pine Forest, but Holly Springs just beat Richmond 36-33. I expect a little bit of a letdown, to be honest with you. So you know what, I'm gonna go against my instinct. I'm gonna go with Pine Forest.
I was picking Pine Forest, but there could be a letdown that plays into that because you beat mighty Richmond, even though they're not mighty this year. They're still mighty until our memories fade.
You can brag about beating Notre Dame when they're 4-7 or 4-8, but you'll still brag about it because Notre Dame is Notre Dame.
Exactly, and that's
Richmond
the same
is Notre Dame
situation here.
Yeah,
so they gotta put that behind them and come into this game as the ball game. Richmond was not like they spanked Richmond, but they did beat them.
Yeah, they beat them.
I could see a letdown because of that. Yeah,
it's going a lot of emotions in that. Now this next game, Cardinal Gibbons and Millbrook game could go either way, but I'm gonna take Gibbons in this. I think they'll win by a touchdown or two.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Millbrook won, but my pick is Gibbons as well.
Right. So let's see what else we got down here. Now this Southern Alabama's New Hanover game. Gosh, I'd love to go to that game. That would be on the coast though. that game could go either way. I think it's hard for me to go against Southern Alabama. That's what I am. I'm gonna go with Duke Hanover. But again,
Right.
that game is gonna be close.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now going down to the bottom part, Wake Forest, Leesville Road. Wake Forest is playing they're really hitting their niche right now. I think they're going to be a hard team for anybody to beat. Leesville Road, from what I understood, kind of struggled last week. Didn't always look all that sharp on defense. Wake Forest is always sharp on defense, so I'm going with Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest is kind of a better defensive team.
Yeah, I like Wake Forest in this game.
Now, this next game, Cleveland Rolesville, another one that's with, I might go all the way to Johnson County and see that game that they're playing on Friday, like it says here. Um, I'm gonna take Cleveland in this game, but I would not be surprised if Rolesville won this game at all.
Yeah, I think you gotta really give thought to the fact that Rolls could win this game.
Now, this next game, Pinecrest and Laney, Pinecrest and Jordan.
Uh-huh.
Jordan is playing deceptively really good football. They gave Hillside a fight. They've given Southern Alabama a fight. They're a scrappy team. I don't think they have enough scrap to beat Pinecrest, but I do expect a close game.
Yeah, I've been high on Pinecrest most of the year. I don't change it now.
Right.
But that could, yeah, I could see it being a competitive ball game. Yeah.
Now this next game, New Bern Hoggard, New Bern all over Hoggard. I don't think it's going to even be close.
That's my team to come out of the West, but I'm talking about Newbern, not Hogg.
Yeah, New Bern out of the East. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
I mean, out of the East. Excuse me. That's my team to come out of the East. Um,
I totally agree with you. I think that's the team. They're to me they're the favorite team. And I did some probability about the 4As of all the teams in the East and the West. Probability wise, New Bern had the best chance of winning the state championship. It
uh-huh.
wasn't by much. It was just by about 1% more than East Forsyth. But it's just because New Bern had the easier routes to go. We're going to look at East Forsyth in just a little bit.
Yep.
East Forsyth, from this week until the final week of the season, they're going to have one landmine after another. So, looking at the on the West, Grimsley, Charlotte Catholic. I'm gonna go with Grimsley on this, and that has a lot to do more with just how good they've doing their fundamentals. I think they're more a very athletic team. They have won a state championship recently. Charlotte Catholic, I'd say will get close, and that's just merely out of respect. I do think they played some teams really tight this year. Charlotte was a Charlotte Christian, I think, or no Providence today that they only lost by a point, I believe.
They lost to the last of the ball game. I'm picking Charlotte Catholic here.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
I think it's
I
gonna be a
think
great game, though.
I think Charlotte Catholic is. They're when I looked at this, I forget the exact power rankings now, but there's a huge difference in the two power rankings, Catholic and Grimsley.
Right.
And if you look at they had to play Independence, they had to play Butler. They beat Hickory Ridge in a close ball game. They lost to Providence Day, who people can argue them to be the best team in the state. They lost to them in a very, very close, their last wasn't the last play of the game, but when Providence Day kicked the ball off, there was 4 seconds left in the game.
Gotcha.
After the touchdown that Providence Day scored to go ahead and win. Catholic was up in that ball game. So this is a good squad that can can hit you both with the run and the pass. And they've got phenomenal tight ends. One of them going up to Notre Dame. It could be a good game, but I am picking Catholic here.
So the next game, Independence Olympic. Which storyline do you like best? I mean, Independence has got a pretty good storyline. Olympic is undefeated, first time ever. They've won 11 games, first time ever. I guess they've been undefeated. Uh, but Independence has been irrelevant for several years now. It's probably since Coach Evans left. Whatever, it's a great storyline either way on that.
Yeah, so there's
go with
sorry,
Olympic on that one.
You're going with Olympic. So there's some more to the storyline. DJ McFadden, the head coach at Independence, he played under Tommy Knox. He quarterbacked 2 state championship teams. He brought back the tradition. That was the first thing he did when he came back, or when he took over as head coach, is he brought back the fact that, yeah, this is what Independence did in the 2000s. And remember this and know this. So that storyline, I mean, it's kind of rich when you look at, and rich in a good way. I mean, they might be. There's a lot of argument that can be made that they might be the most one of the most surprising, not surprising in a shocking way, but what's the word I'm looking for? The way that the season is going for them and the way they have developed. Um, they are on one of the more fairy tale paths. Now, Olympics got the same similar fairy tale story going on. There's that gremlin that I talked about earlier of getting over the wall.
Yeah.
So in picks, the other night, I struggled with this one. I really did. And I know people might question, why would you struggle? Why would you not pick Independent? I did pick Independence, but I struggled with the pick and told myself probably by the end of the week I might change my pick. Now I picked for the Charlotte Observer, and I can't change that pick. It's already registered. But I've seen what Olympic has the potential to do. If they can achieve their potential, then your pick is right, Jim.
Yeah.
They got to get the gremlin. They can't let the gremlin get in the way.
Gotcha. So we'll go down a little bit. Huff and Mallard Creek. I think this is going to be an interesting game. I mean, this is another rematch.
Yeah.
Did Mallard Creek won that game in the
Mallard Creek won the first game. They, the thing is, Jim, they won that game without scoring on offense. They got their defense did the scoring in that game.
Right.
These are two strong defensive teams. You can argue that Huff, Mallard Creek, and Chambers are the 3 best defenses in 4A. Right. That's a solid argument that people could make. But in that game, Mallard Creek did not generate offense. So go ahead. Now you finish up what you were thinking.
Yeah, I'm going to take that game. I'm going to go with Huff. I think Huff is going to have. I think they want to have a subtle score with Mallard Creek on that one.
Yeah, I think there's something that I've been saying the last few weeks about playing with emotion or playing emotional. And here in this game, Mallard Creek's going to need to play with emotion. They can't get emotional. The same thing's true with Huff. But Mallard Creek's going to need a little more of an edge, I think, because Huff is a little more rounded on offense. Both have solid defenses, and Huff has got maybe an edge in offense. So Mallard Creek's going to need a little extra edge. It's hard to beat a good team twice.
Right.
And this is one of those situations where you can repeat that again. So I think you have to favor Huff because of those reasons. I've heard some people say Huff may win it by 2 scores. I have a hard time seeing that, but I do think they are the favorite.
They can win by 2 scores if they have some help. I mean, it's just, if both teams bring in the same type quality game, I think it's going to be up by a score.
Right, exactly. I agree with you.
Now, this next game, Mount Tabor, East Forsyth, everybody talks about East Forsyth, and rightfully so. They're a very good team. They probably have the best overall team in the 4As. Mount Tabor, not nearly as many people talk about Mount Tabor, and they're a very dangerous team. They're the team that dismantled Richmond County the very first game of the season. I mean, just tore them up. I'm going to go with East Forsyth on this one, but this is a game, though, that East Forsyth better not overlook Mount Tabor. And they should, because they're county brethren. So
I gotta say there's history here too. Yeah. These teams, I it's hard to pick against East Forsyth here. It's hard to pick against East Forsyth in the bottom half of this bracket, though. The next game will be an extremely tough game. But yeah, I think Mount Tabor is going to need some of that rival mentality to kind of rise up and help them here.
All right, so we're going to go down the second part here. Watauga, Northwest Guilford. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny to people over in Greensboro, over in Boone, but comparing that game to something like Mallard Creek and Huff or East Forsyth and Mount Tabor, there's a huge letdown on this. I mean, I will take Watauga in this game, but it's like watching the 8 game versus the JVs. So I'll take Watauga though.
I picked Northwest.
Do you Northwest?
Yeah.
This next game
Northwest. I'm sorry. I said Northwest. Yeah, and they were in our pick'em this week, and I picked Northwest. I'll stay with that.
This next game, Weddington Coxmill, I do expect to be a pretty darn good game. I think Coxmill is a trap game for Weddington. I think Weddington is a very solid team. I don't think they're going to have to worry about having a letdown. Game is on Thursday night, though. I'm going to take Weddington, but I expect a very close game, though.
Yeah, I think this game here, I've seen both of these teams play. Obviously not against each other, but I saw Weddington play Audrey Kell, and I saw Coxmill play A.L. Brown. And I like Coxmill. There's a lot of good things to like about that squad. They are balanced. They have the ability to be balanced on offense. They have a good quarterback. They have good receivers, and they have a good running back. It's really going to come down, I think, to Coxmill's defense. Weddington's going to have a little. This is going to be a tough offense for Weddington to manage. But Weddington is the same Weddington as Weddington always is, and what that means is they are extremely disciplined on the field.
They're like a Charlotte Catholic to me.
Yeah, they're a Charlotte Catholic. Their mechanics are spot on. The players know their positions. They know what they're supposed to do. They do it. They execute. They flow to where they're supposed to flow to. everything that you would teach a football player to do in a game. It's just like Charlotte Catholic. These kids know what they're supposed to do. Um, Weddingtons and Catholics, you rarely get big play touchdowns. They can shut down. You might get a what you would consider a big play, but against other teams it would be a touchdown because these guys they can get to the mark to make the tackles. They know angles. And this is a key element I'm bringing up because I can't say that Cox Mill has really played that kind of team. So I think this has the potential to be a phenomenal game. Um, Weddington is the pick on paper. They're very much a punch you in the mouth team as well. They're hard hitting bunch of guys. Don't be surprised that Cox Mill wins this game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. So we've got AC Reynolds, Chambers. AC Reynolds, I was really high on them at the beginning of the season, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought they had an ugly loss against a team in Tennessee. Found out that loss wasn't that ugly at all. It was against a very solid Tennessee team. AC Reynolds is a little bit of an unknown. Chambers has to go up to Fairview to play them. That's a hard place to win. I expect a heck of a game here. Uh, I think Chambers' defense is going to give AC Reynolds a struggle, to be honest with you. I'm going to take Chambers. I like defense in November.
Well, I pick Chambers hands down in this game. I think the team speed, and I have to say team because it exists on offense and defense. It exists at skill positions. It exists in defensive tackles, defensive guards. They have they're fast across the board. They're big and fast. And usually when fast teams go up into the mountains and they're skilled teams, they tend to do well. And this is a really good team. This Chambers team is a good, solid team. So yeah, I picked Chambers here in this game as well. I think it's good. I would not be surprised if it got to 2 scores.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Butler, Mooresville. You can circle that game you want to. I'm gonna take Butler in this game. I think Butler. I think they have a little bit more to prove right now. They had a kind of a. I'm not, it's hard to say this, but I'm gonna say they had a bit of a disappointing regular season. They didn't play. I don't think they played that great in the first round. I think this is going to be a pride game. I like the idea of Coach Hales getting on Mooresville or getting on the Bulldogs. Say we're going to beat this Mooresville team. We're not just going to beat them, or we're going to manhandle them. I'm going to take Butler.
So in the pick 'em this week, I picked Mooresville.
Okay.
And this hard for me to pick over Butler because as you may remember, I've been kind of high on Butler for most of the year. And I don't degrade them or down vote them much for losing to Independence because Independence is a very good squad.
Right.
Mooresville's got a good team this year. You've been to Mooresville, haven't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a different atmosphere to say the least.
Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting game. I still lean to Mooresville, but I do think playing on Thursday changes some things.
Yeah, I agree with
and
that game's still scheduled on Friday by this thing here.
You know what? Mooresville, that's right. I'm sorry. This is because Mooresville has the ability to not CMS moved all games to Thursday, but that's only for games that they host.
Right.
That's right. I'm sorry. I had that in my mind. Um, I I think this game's going to be a close game, but
Yeah.
Mooresville's got some advantages. Man, I'm sorry, Coach Hales, and you guys go out there and win it. I think they've got the ability to. If their quarterback, if that quarterback does not turn over the ball, that's one thing they'll be able to do is throw the ball. And he's good. When that kid's on point, he's on point. He's a sophomore, so we'll be hearing more about him over the next couple of years. But interesting. That's an interesting ball game for me to watch. Of all these games, Jim, besides the game I'll be at, the games that I will be at, that will be a game that I will be watching to try to keep up on the score.
Right.
I'm interested in the Chambers Reynolds game as well, but yeah, I'll be paying attention to that. Let's see if any of our fans have seen it.
The one thing I was going to say though, I think Chambers, if they beat AC Reynolds, I think they could beat Butler or Morrisville and get into the fourth round pretty. I like Chambers right now. I like their path to the fourth round.
So Gary Ashley just said he made two comments. He said Mooresville and Butler game I feel will be a good one. I don't.
Oh yeah.
Everybody disagrees with that. That's gonna be a good ball game. Um, and he says rain could play a factor in some of these games without question. And maybe some of these games playing Thursday, I don't know. I haven't looked to see when the first rains are predicted to fall, but they could start impacting games, as they're being played.
No, Dale, I had someone tell me that played college football, and he told me that rain is something that is like an adversity. It doesn't hurt to be rained on, but getting tackled when it's raining outside is a different feeling than when it's dry.
Yeah,
What's your thoughts about that?
I played ball, and I'll agree with that. The I think one of the problems with getting tackled or getting blocked or even getting hit is there's an uncertainty in your head about your footing, for one. And one of the things you're having to do is maintain balance. And you have to think about it more. Unlike on a dry field where your body can just do its things, you really start thinking about how you're putting your feet down and how you're moving. And when you start taking some of your focus away from just, the flow of the game into the control of your body, because when you play ball, really your body kind of takes over and does it knows what it needs to do. And your mind's doing that in the background. And when you bring that to the foreground, I think that I know it feels different to be hit, and I'm just thinking one of the reasons it might feel different.
I think it might be this like they're aggravated a little bit more because they're having to think more about their outside of their mesh, like
Yeah,
here's my assignment, I'm gonna do this assignment. Now they have to worry about, well, I got to do this assignment, I have to worry about my footing, I have to worry about my vision, I have to
yeah,
worry about, losing traction.
exactly. You've got all that stuff that normally just happens. Your body just knows what to do. Your subconscious is controlling what you do because you've done the repetitive stuff with your feet and everything. So all that muscle memory goes to town, and now you have to override that muscle memory because you know that it's going to put you on the ground if you don't. So that's yeah, it's that there's a lot of little factors that makes this playing in the rain a tough thing, Jim.
Right.
Let me see what other we got here. Now it says I see here. I like West Charlotte by 4 scores. Um, okay. I don't know. Maybe it's hard to think about beating a High Brighton team by 4 scores, but okay. That wouldn't shock me at all. I'm just kind of looking back.
I mean, West Charlotte's offense has improved some during the year, so not out
It's
not out of the question, I guess.
right. It is especially improved over the last couple of weeks. It's seen a marked improvement. So, um, like East Lincoln's chances of holding a high score Ashe County to 6. I don't think East Lincoln's going to have a bit of an issue at all. Be a huge game. So Gary was just mentioning he thinks East Lincoln and Tuscola will be a huge game.
I don't know. I'm not too high on Tuscola at this
Yeah,
point.
I remember your comment on that earlier. Um, all Thursday games should get rain. Most likely there will be some rain. Exactly.
When's the rain supposed to come in? Do you know?
I last I had heard was in the evening, but
It's
I
supposed to
haven't
rain through
looked.
Friday or through Saturday,
Um,
or depends where you are in North Carolina.
the storm's moving pretty quickly, so I mean it could be. I think it's supposed to be rain during the day, Friday until we talked about this last night, and I think the rain was supposed to end 5 to 6 p.m. So before the games are played. Um, I see a 2 to 3 p.m. for me. I'm not sure what that means. Um,
Yeah,
what
that's one.
did you look it up?
Yeah, I just looked it on my phone here. It looks like it's coming in about 6 p.m. in the Research Triangle area. Uh,
Oh,
I
which
don't mind.
means down here it's going to be already. So probably by game time, we might be under heavy rain.
No, is that storm? Is it going east west or west east, or is it going south north, or
It's going south northwest.
so it might be a little bit earlier. It just matters when the bands come in, the rain bands.
Yeah, the thing is those rain bands can be
They're just, I mean, we could me and you could be in the same rain band at the same time. Uh, it just matters how that storm goes through.
right. Exactly. I I, I have I watched a game at Clover. This was back around 2005 or six. I can't remember exactly, but a hurricane was moving through. Now it wasn't a hurricane here. It was I don't remember. I remember the rain was it was windy and the rain was raining sideways and it was heavy rain. Um, and there were places on high ground where the water was 6 inches deep or so. It was. I've not been in that much rain ever at a game. So it'll be interesting because you know you don't want to. I don't know what the forecast looks like for Monday, but if you start moving games,
I saw one game that was playing on Saturday.
oh, who's playing Saturday?
I think I saw it on the. I can't remember if it was 1A or 2A. Someone was playing on Saturday. Let's see if I can find it.
If I had a Saturday game close, I would go to it and Lawndale, it says 2 p.m. and rain through 9 p.m. So it's supposed to start at 2 p.m. You know, the key thing is going to be the games that are on grass. That's where your big issues are going to be. The turf games, I would assume that most schools drain. Most of those fields are going to be or drain well, um, unless it's just obviously too much water to drain.
That's not, there's, you go to a field like Concord, and I mean, that's probably one of the worst, or used to be one of the worst excuses for fields.
It's a turf field now, though, isn't it?
Is it a turf field now?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a turf field now.
Back when it was just a regular natural grass field, it was horrible. But
oh, it was horrible, especially down in that end zone. If you're on the home side, the right hand on the home side, that kind of corner part of that end zone, and up to maybe about the 5 to 10 yard line, like a mud puddle there. Every time I would go.
The good thing is Cabarrus counties are taking care of it because Concord can't make the playoffs. I'm sorry to say that. I just looked at it. Lee County in North Brunswick are playing on Saturday at 6:30. That would be over the coast in Leland. That would be fun to go down there and you can watch the game on Thursday night, Friday night, and then Saturday night.
Yeah.
Won't happen for me, but anyway, I can dream.
Yeah, I'm already scheduled my Thursday and Friday, and I would go to a Saturday game if it made sense, and travel to go to. And I was kind of hoping maybe some team would move their game to Saturday around here, over in Cleveland, or somebody like Kings Mountain moved their game. Wouldn't mind seeing Kings Mountain again. But anyway.
Well, it's an interesting thing about Brunswick County, though. North Brunswick, South Brunswick, and West Brunswick, they all opened up in the 72-73 season. And Southport used to have the football team back in the 60s. They would win a state championship. They played like 8-man football, and they were great. But you never hear much about Brunswick County except in the early 90s when West Brunswick was just they were the top dog around. So, I mean, they had a great program over there. And anyway, it's Brunswick County is a special place. That'd be a cool place to watch a football game.
I noticed my green screen lost its background. I can't start it back up. That is where I'm from. Yeah. Okay. So that's Cary.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Well, not much anything. My computer doesn't feel like it's ready to take off anymore. All of a sudden, it just the fan or whatever this thing was, it just cut off, and it's
I noticed that.
Yes. I mean, a couple of times I was like trying to hit this thing, going pop, 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 and finally something, whatever, I just tapped it just right and it stopped. So, that's the thing about laptops, technology. They're good for about 3 years, and then you have to throw them out and get something new.
Some of them last a good long time, though.
You ever had a ThinkPad before?
Yep.
I'm not big on ThinkPads, so I've had this one for a little over 3 years now.
This Lenovo, for example, has been around. I got so many laptops around me, but I've had this one for 8 years or so.
Okay.
Like that. I don't use it every day. I use that one every day. And then Microsoft sent me, I've been playing around with. But some can last. It really depends. I had good success with ThinkPad. That was my favorite laptop when I was at Mitsubishi, was a ThinkPad. We went through a number of different laptops. Larry Brock, that played when I was in high school, went to South Brunswick. Oh, so is he the coach down there?
I think he is, or at least he had a connection down there. Uh, he, that's a good place to go. I'll tell you what. Wouldn't it be nice, like you're ready to retire, and they're like, "Hey, Dell, you know what? I know you've been doing Charlotte for a while. Why don't you come over to Brunswick County to do it
Oak
for
Island.
to get to Oak Island?"
Oak Island. I like Oak Island.
Yeah. Not only that, we're going to move. We're going to pay your moving expenses and help you finance a house.
Although I don't mind going to Carolina Beach and getting a Whit's donut. You ever had Whit's donut?
I have. I have.
Have?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now the trick there, Jim, if you don't know it, because usually there's a long line to get the donut. The trick is to go inside and sit down and order your donuts, and you can go inside and sit down in there,
Right.
find a place to sit down and order your donuts, and get you a cup of milk, and you'll get your donuts a lot faster than if you stand out in the line. Then you can order extra ones if you want to take some with you. Right.
You know what? You know what? I know what you're talking about. Actually, I do not. I was thinking about another thing. I was thinking about Witt's frozen custard, which we have around here, which is a local change. Different things. So my fault.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, the frozen custard. Yeah, we got one of those here as well. I love that. Go give it a try sometime. It's right there at it's at Carolina Beach.
Gotcha.
There's a sauce place right up. Great hot sauce place. With a couple of little buildings right up from it. It's right there where the what they call the boardwalk area. You're familiar with it?
Right.
We were too far. They excluded kids from Lincoln County from the Shrine Bowl. Who excluded? I'm not aware of that. I wouldn't think any kids got excluded. They may not have been picked. That's a different story. But honestly, I didn't follow that this year, Jim.
Yeah, I haven't either. And the thing, every year, it's the Shrine Bowl it's a topic that it's hard for me to even want to talk about because it always seems to have more people that have hurt feelings than anything else. There's not a kid on the Shrine Bowl roster that doesn't deserve to play. You know,
my concern has just been that the Shriners are not marketing it. And ever since it was taken over by South Carolina, the Shrine Bowl hasn't been what it used to be. Now, that's what the Lincolnton coach said. You have to understand that when players don't get picked, coaches may think that we're being excluded. Did they do combines this summer, Jim?
I think they did. I just didn't keep up with it.
I did not keep up.
I don't even know who the head coach is this year.
I don't either. This is the first year I can say that I'm unaware of all these things. But I do know from the previous years, for example, that if players didn't go to a combine, they were not basically weren't eligible for being selected. And I can kind of understand that. Um, but I would think, and I don't know. I don't think there was an intentional because players are from Lincoln, from Lincoln County. We're not going to pick them. It's just that maybe the coaches that are picking didn't feel like there were players that they could play the game with.
Yeah, I mean, how many players can you pick for on the Shrine Bowls? Like 44? Is it 44 kids into a roster? Or
So you can only have two from a school, and it's somewhere around that number. It's under 50.
it's like either 42 or 44 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I won't say 44 because I don't know. Just it sounds wrong. 46 maybe. Maybe you can have a kicker, a punter, and then have two of each on offense and defense. But basically, you'll have, and you also have to play in a certain formation, or like offensive formation. Don't you have to have two backs in your backfields? At least it
I
used to be one time.
Yeah, I don't know what I honestly can't say what the requirements are this year because since since they didn't play the COVID year, it kind of fell. They didn't play last year. It kind of fell off my radar, Jim. I hate to say that because I'm a proponent of the Shrine Bowl, but I think they've done a poor job of marketing it.
Oh, they've done a horrendous job. I mean, that's nobody talks about it anymore. I mean, it's kind of gone downhill to be honest with you the last 10 years. Yes,
Right. It needs to move
um,
back to North Carolina.
it needs to
I
be moved
saw
back. You got to have announcers and people that actually can talk the game up a little bit, and you just don't
Yep.
have it. Um,
See, when I was in high school, the Shrine Bowl was promoted to the point that there were things up on the walls in the halls as you walk, between classes and all. You would see something up about the Shrine Bowl, and um, it was made more a big deal. The coaches promoted it to the players on the team. They don't do that now. Coaches don't promote it, and I'm talking about head coaches. And there's certain other requirements of being picked. Your coach has to nominate you. If your coach doesn't nominate you, they don't pick players that aren't nominated.
yeah, exactly.
So a lot of times when people say, "Well, so and so didn't make it," and there were times I was able to know what was going on, um, and you'd find out, well, that player wasn't even nominated. Um, that's being so when they would discuss that back over on when I had the Carolina Varsity forums, you get some complaints, and then you'd find out, well, that player wasn't even nominated by his coach. So you're complaining to the wrong people because the Shriners do have a set thing that if a coach doesn't nominate you, we're not going to ask you to play.
Right.
I see there. I think Terry said that they're going to do their own All-Star game in Lincoln County.
I'm all for that. To be honest with you, I think that'd be fun to do that. I mean, I wouldn't make it a 12 quarter game. I think or 12-minute quarters. Make it like maybe six or maybe have a yeah. I don't know. Just make it about half the amount of game. But I think that'd be fun to do.
So what do you think about the East-West Shrine Bowl being
You
played
know,
earlier?
I'm cool with that. I guess. I be honest with you, during the summer, you're just not gonna get much of the attention anyway. And I never hear anybody talk about the East West game.
Yeah,
Before it just seems brutal to be
it
playing football that time of year
it
anyway.
it does. I mean, and it's players that the only good thing you could say about it is it's giving some players to play one more game because being played in the summer, none of those kids are playing in college because none of their coaches would allow them to do that. So you don't have, or I say none. I don't think you have kids that are going on to college playing in the East West Shrine Bowl, playing in the summer. I like having it earlier, more in football time frame. You still may be in the situation of having kids that aren't playing, but what it does do is it gives recruiters a chance to look at a kid. And now we're not talking D1 recruiters, folks. D1 decisions are well made by that point. But it does give D2 schools and D3 schools a chance to see players play that maybe they could pick up on that they didn't know about.
Right.
So I think there's an advantage for it to being played earlier as a result of that.
I agree with you. How long has the Shrine Bowl been in South Carolina now?
Gosh, 20-some years.
I mean, it's been like 93 or 94 or something like that.
30,
Last time.
Yeah, 30, 20 to 30 years, something. Yeah, it's been a long time.
I'm surprised there hasn't been more talk about moving it to North Carolina. I mean, does South Carolina have like an ownership of the game, or
No, not really. Well, North Carolina used to handle it. And it was played, at Memorial Stadium here in Charlotte.
You know what would be cool is have everybody go to Scotland High School with that big old jumbotron. Yeah, 1 year, and then the next year be over Marlborough County, which is another great football. I mean,
yep.
I mean, that would be a great area. It's not that hard for a lot of people to get to that area. Don't have nearly the traffic.
Yeah, there was talk about something similar of playing it here in Charlotte and then playing it at District 3 in Rock Hill because they got a big stadium there and going back and forth. Maybe alternating between those two sites, which I think that also would be a potential. But now, where would you play in Charlotte? Because it could probably the new Memorial Stadium. It holds less people, but it probably doesn't need to hold as many now.
You could probably play. You could probably play.
Got to get built. Yeah, the game's got to get built back up.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could probably play it somewhere like at Charlotte University. You went to see Charlotte or something like that if you wanted to. Or heck, was it Gardner? Does Gardner Webb still have a?
Well, Charlotte Memorial, the Memorial Stadium is probably holds as many as Charlotte does. Yeah, I think so. Probably similar size seating.
Another fun place to go. Have everybody go up to East Park over in Burke County, going towards Morganton. That's one of the nicest stadiums ever.
There's a lot of stadiums, a lot of good stadiums up in the mountains.
I mean, that would be fun to do that. Heck, it would be fun to have all these kids play over Clemson at Memorial Stadium down in Clemson, South Carolina.
That would be sweet. Yeah. But you got to get it. I think you got to get it away from the South Carolina Shriners. They're not promoting it.
Now, Dylan, how far are you from I-85 from your house?
I can be on I-80 I can be on I-85 in maybe 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
I'd be on 485 in about 10, and then another 7 to 10 minutes to get to 85.
And which exit would you be off of if you got to I-85?
The 485 exit, which is, if you're from me, I don't know exit number there. if you're familiar with, are you familiar with where the river's at?
Yeah, sure.
So it's
You're
Mount
probably
Holly. There's Mount Holly Road, and it's like maybe just a few miles from the river
okay.
where you
I
cross
was,
over into Gaston County.
yeah, and you're probably how far are you from like the South Carolina border? If you jump on 95, 6, 7
Well,
miles.
now it depends on which. So if it's the South Carolina border from 85,
85 is what I'm talking about. Yeah,
yeah, because I'm closer to the South Carolina border where I live. Um,
gotcha.
it takes probably a little over 30 minutes to get
Oh,
into
that one.
South.
Okay,
Yeah, because again, it takes about 20 minutes just to get to 85, and then it's probably another 15 minutes to South Carolina
I
because you got to go
gotcha.
through Gastonia.
Reason why I was asking about that, just kind of give you an idea. I live. I can almost see I-85 from that window right out there. It's uh, we have an underpass, I-85 underpass that
Uh-huh.
goes by. Uh, it's half a mile from my house. Actually, my neighborhood butts up against I-85, and we're off the exit 165. I'm gonna say you're probably 150 miles southwest of where I am,
Approximate. Yeah, that's about right.
and just really thinking about this weather that's ready to come in here. It's going to be a pretty big weather movement, that's going to come
Yeah.
through there. Uh, I have a feeling some of these games that are scheduled Thursday, I wonder if they made a mistake by scheduling them on Thursday from looking at the weather forecast. I wonder if
Well,
they'd be better to play it Friday or even Saturday.
the forecast earlier in the week, the storm's moving faster
Right.
than it was moving earlier. So when they made the decisions, the forecast was that rain would not come in until after the games were played.
Right.
So it looked like a better decision when they were making the decision. And yesterday, things just started accelerating. Uh, Bad thing about Saturdays, there's several negatives to playing on Saturday. One of the reasons coaches don't like to have games scheduled on Saturday, first of all, is that that's when their players go visit universities on recruiting, trips. So, kid's gonna considering Carolina, and Carolina's got a game over at Chapel Hill. Kid's gonna want to go up to the game. So coaches tend to not schedule games during the regular season. They tend to not reschedule on Saturdays because that's one reason. Playoffs may be a little bit different. The other thing you have to worry about is if you move off of dates. If you can catch it early, you're great. But then if you start chasing yourself, and you move it to Saturday, and you still have conditions you can't play, then you have to move it to Monday. What happens if you have conditions there? We had that happen in Charlotte, where games were moved to Tuesday. So
That's bad.
exactly. So now all of a sudden you're playing a game on Tuesday, and one of the teams would be playing on Friday.
Yeah.
You start getting into safety issues. So I like Saturday more than Thursday for just the convenience of being able to get to the game and all. But there are maybe some potential logistics things that make Saturdays a tough out because you don't have other options of moving. Now they could move into Saturday. They could call games tomorrow and say we're going to reschedule them for Saturday.
You think there's ever going to be a chance where we'll see high school football played on a Sunday?
Jim, I think we're going to see. I think I don't know if I'm going to see it, I will not be surprised if I'm alive when it happens. But I think we're going to see high school football go away and be replaced by club
Soccer.
type. No, replaced by club football, where
Gotcha.
you have some organization setting up, and then because with this recruitment stuff and all this other stuff, and it's not as convenient to have like with basketball, you got you got AA basketball. Well, baseball is impacted with all these travel leagues and all. And I think we're going to probably see something like that happen with football, with with parents not wanting their children to play um, because of head injuries. Um, Less people playing. I just think there's going to be impacts to the game because of that. But I like this last comment here in the Bible Belt.
I know. And to be honest with you, the the thing about Sundays, I'll go to. I'm a United Methodist, so we'll go to church on Sundays. You'll find more kids playing soccer, like 5 or 6 times more kids playing soccer than you'll find them in the churches around this area.
Right.
And the same thing with the parents. And uh, it's yeah, we live in the Bible Belt, especially in the rural areas. It's much more traditionally Bible Belt. But like where I live, where I'm sure where you live, Dale, a lot of the more urban, suburban
Right.
areas, it's like to me Sunday it's become Sunday's more of a convenience than anything else. Like, well, Sunday I can rest and do nothing I want to because it's Sunday, and
Right.
uh, I
We
think
play.
what you know,
We watch NFL football games on Sundays. The NFL's playing on Sundays. The
basketball during basketball season,
basketball. The We used to
NASCAR,
have a lot of laws that controlled these things, but those are becoming less and less.
the blue laws.
Yep, the blue laws.
It used to be Wednesday afternoons. You'd hardly find any businesses open. Like
That's
in
right.
Stanley County, everybody was just closed down. And now it's interesting. Like in Hillsborough, it's Monday. A lot of businesses will be open on Sunday, but they'll close down on Monday. It's hard to find a
Well, if
restaurant in on Monday.
well, that's because now if they're restaurants, I know the answer there. That the worst business day for a restaurant is
Monday.
Monday. The next worst is Tuesday. Usually restaurants don't start picking up until the middle of the week, and then as you progress closer to the weekend, then the restaurant business picks up, and then
Right.
Monday it goes back down again. So that's why, and probably with COVID, that may have made a big switch to like we just can't afford to do that.
Right.
And so they saw that and they made their adjustment. I think we'll lose football though before we see high school move a football game to a Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really believe before the end of this century, high school football will go away.
It'll be sponsored by somebody else or some
Yes,
group, or have their
exactly.
own NILs for teams. So.
Yep. Soccer will not. Rugby might take over football.
And it could be a brand new sport that we don't even know
It
exists.
could be a brand new sport, but one, I just think families are holding kids out because of head injuries. That's lower. Participation's a lot lower right now in high school than I've seen ever.
I also think public high schools, in a lot of ways, are kind of going to the wayside. In a lot of areas, we're seeing a push for kids being thrown out of the traditional high schools and moving them to charters or private schools or home
Right.
schools.
So keep in mind, of course, charters are public. Just in case
Right.
somebody's watching there, they are
Yeah, I was going
public
to say
schools, but they're not
traditional
your
high.
tradition. They're not
Yeah.
your traditional, right?
Right.
Um,
And I have no problems with charter schools. I really don't.
I like charter schools. I honestly, I would like to see us have more.
The big thing is if you have charter schools, make sure that you still fund your public schools where they can
Right,
exist, and that's the trick about it. A lot of times when you have to pay for more brick and mortar, it's going to be more of a fixed cost that it's going to require more dollars to do that. So if you have 1,500 kids, it's better to have them under one roof than have to pay rent on two different places or build two different places or get you have to heat them up and different stuff.
I
It
would
is. It
not,
is what it is.
Jim. I would not mind at all seeing enough charter schools open up in Charlotte to shut CMS down. So enough charter schools to be able to cover all the students that need public school education and shut CMS down. That would not bother me at all.
I think a lot of the teachers within CMS would probably agree with you for just talking to them because a lot of them just cannot stand CMS. They think that the administrators really don't give a darn about who they are or anything like that. So that they're treated as like robots. Well, they can do more with less, and it'd be like if that ever happened, it'd be like the roosters coming, the chickens coming home to roost, and
Right. Oh, I'm sure that a lot of the CMS teachers would love to see it happen because they would go over to the charter schools and teach. Um, so and do better. So yeah, I would. It would not bother me at all. I'm. I remember when North. Do you remember when North Mecklenburg High School was going to secede from the CMS?
I remember. I remember one time North Mecklenburg. Then I also heard like some schools in like in the southern area were thinking about leaving CMS. Also, and so
There's been some various discussions of schools doing this.
I heard Butler one time was thinking about moving out, and some other ones down there.
Definitely North Mecklenburg made a big stink about it. Well, I wish that that community still had that interest and would go ahead and say, build us a charter school and we will move our students to that charter school. But they were gonna try to take property and everything, the physical school, take it away from CMS, the physical building. And that's what kept that from happening because they couldn't get legally there was too much of a battle to try to get the school property away from Charlotte Mecklenburg.
We succeed. We're January. We're January 5th. Not January 6th. But January 5th. We're insurrectionists.
Exactly.
So,
Okay.
well, Dale, I guess I don't have anything else to chat about, but I appreciate the time, man.
Yep, and enjoy your game tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll see each other about the same time, same bat channel next week.
Yep. Let's all not get wet, people, tomorrow night.
Yes. All right. Well, from me and Dale and to everybody else, we hope you all have a great evening. Take care of yourself.